right, the dreaded Boston Bruins, bro. This is the team that I dislike the most in the entire league. And I
I wonder
know
why, bro.
I know I should be unbiased for this whole series, but to be honest, they've broken my heart too many times by eliminating the Leafs in Game 7. I hate them from top to bottom. So
But you
let's
love him. You
do our
love him on your fantasy
season
team.
preview. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So
Um,
last
so
year,
yeah, go ahead, rip it up.
last year they finished second in the conference, uh, getting the home ice advantage against the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs. They went on to beat the Leafs and then lose to Tampa Bay in the playoffs.
Yes,
I think they ran
correct.
out of steam. The Leafs definitely, you know, took out a big chunk of their stamina for the playoffs. They definitely did a number on them, and then they when you play against Tampa Bay, who's the Stanley Cup favorite last year, it's a lot to. And again, I think that's maybe the main issue with the Atlantic Division and the way that the playoffs are set up is almost like you're set up to fail. I mean, the Leafs, Tampa Bay, and Boston last year were three powerhouse teams, and it just seemed to be no end in sight for these guys. They look like they could all win the cup. After the
Mm-hmm.
first series, the Leafs are out, and after the second series, the Bruins are out. And now you got
Yes.
the Caps playing a Tampa team when, to be honest, the Caps barely squeaked by Columbus in their first round.
Mm.
So I just think there's a bit of a flawed system here. I kind of wish they'd go back to the 1-8-2-7, 3-6
I
setup.
think I'll take it even a step further and go 116.
Oh,
Doesn't matter
yeah.
what division or what conference you're in. 1-16. A lot of people talk about home ice advantage, but so many times you see the away team actually come in focused, ready to go, and take the air out of an arena in the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes of a game.
Yeah.
Playoffs, you want to be home, you want to be sleeping in your own bed, eating your own food, waking up whenever you want to wake up. Home ice advantage should be something that actually plays a role in the game. So if you're looking at 1-16, so whatever it may be, you're looking at the Lightning and just for whatever reason, the Sharks, or
Right.
just for whatever reason,
Right.
they finish 1-16. That travel time, those days off, they're actually not days off. They're actually
Their travel days
uh,
and their days where you're
exactly.
adjusting. However, let me flip it on you.
Okay.
Answer this. What if first place is Tampa Bay,
Mm.
16th place is Florida, and then 15th place is, another Eastern team, so let's say like the Rangers, but
Mm-hmm.
second place is Vegas. So now your 15 seed is going all the way out west on the western coast
Yeah.
to play their first couple games. You got
Yeah.
all of that travel between the home and away spreads, and yet the 16th place team has a 3 hour drive down across the state to go play the first place team. Now you're taking that edge, which I understand what you're saying. I just don't think that it's a fair system because or like
Now.
because now you could be talking about even like the 8 and 9 teams. Like you can be having
Mhm.
the two middle teams going across the country while the first and last place have to travel the entire country. And dude, the first place team would still have to go travel to that other
100%.
place. So now the first place team is penalized for all that travel time during that series, and it can be exhausting once you get to the second round.
I'm going to flip this pancake on you one more time. Um,
Let's go all night.
100% I agree. Um, there's a little bit of a flaw to it, but wouldn't you love a state rivalry in Florida and in Tampa Bay? Like I was actually hoping for it last year that the Florida would make the playoffs, just so that they might have the chance to play Tampa.
Yeah, but listen, dude,
Um,
that could happen if Florida finishes as the second wild card spot last year. They would have played in the first round.
but for like I'm just because what I'm trying to say is I'm tired. I'm tired of I shouldn't say this. I'm never tired of Pittsburgh, Washington. but I'm tired of the same teams battling each other. Like the Bruins and Leafs, two great teams. One of them's gone in the first round. I hate that.
Well, that's but
I
that
want to see the best teams move forward, and whether that be whatever it is that you finish first or 16th. I find it's going to make a lot different or a lot more different rivalries. I'm just so tired of
I
it.
understand that, but that brings me back to my first point where I just said you bring back the 1-8. Now you got Tampa, Toronto, and Boston, and they're playing whoever the fuck finished. They're playing Columbus, New Jersey, Philly. Those are brand new rivalries. You know what I mean? Like just doing that and keeping it East against East, West against West, just bringing back the old format, I think is a solution to just having exciting playoffs again and not having to worry about the top seeds being out. Anyway, we're way off track. Let's get back to the stupid ass Bruins. So last year we covered that. This year, players. Obviously they got their top line: Pasternak, Marchand, Bergeron. Bergeron's still dealing with the back injury, I believe, so he's got old man syndrome. I think he's gonna have a tough year this year. I think he's had enough of carrying the load for these guys, and Marchand, Pasternak are gonna step up.
Bergeron hasn't played in a preseason game this year, and not that I know from experience, but I can tell you, once a player misses most of the summer, most of their offseason and preseason, like that's their get in shape time.
Yeah.
When you miss that, you're lagging behind the rest of the who are already in game form in the fourth game. Where for him, it's going to take him at least. Now, I don't know. He might be a fucking god and come out and rip 7 hat tricks in the first month, but
I doubt it.
I doubt it. Yeah, exactly. So I think Pasternak, Marchand are going to have to carry the offensive load for that line and even their whole team. But I like how the Bruins are built because although it didn't seem like it last year, they did have some young guns come up and they had some young guys be able to provide secondary scoring for them.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at DeBrusk, he had a great playoff. You look at Heinen, McAvoy on the back end played really well. And they still even have more younger guys coming, which is very hard to do, trying to implement young guys into a good team that's already built with veterans. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of skill, and that's a thumbs up to management.
If I look though, I find they, in terms of depth, for some reason, they have the young speed guys, they have a good crop of veterans. I have a feeling David Backes is going to slow down this year. I have a feeling David Krejci is going to slow down again this year. I saw things from Krejci in the last year that I have not been a big fan of. I saw plays on the ice where he would give up on plays. He would give up on the back check. He wouldn't cover the high guy on the back check. And it's things that are kind of uncharacteristic of him. And then the whole thing about coming out and saying that he was upset that he wasn't notified about the Bruins chasing Tavares because he knew that would affect his role on the team. It kind of, I get this like, excuse me, this like selfish vibe from him, and I think that it's gonna affect him mentally, and that
100%
he might die. He might kind of regress a little bit. And then if I look at their third line right now, based on dailyfaceoff.com, Ryan Donato, Danton Heinen, and Jacob Forsbacka Karlsson, who I've never heard of. I mean, that line, Donato 9 points last year. This Karlsson guy's 0. I assume he's a rookie. I haven't looked into him. Heinen had a good 47-point season. Then I look at their fourth line, Sean Corrali, Noel Akari, is that it? And Anders Bjork. That fourth line is forgettable. And you look at the teams like the Leafs and the Tampas and the Pittsburghs and the Washingtons, that the fourth lines are big, are still lines that can put up points for you. And
well, you look at Washington in the playoffs this year. Ovechkin and Backstrom and Oshie, they had okay playoffs, but it was their second and third line that actually pushed them over the edge. And I think that's what they didn't have in the last few years.
And that's
Is guys
exactly what I'm saying. No, you're right. Like that's what I'm saying. I look at their fourth line. I don't think they have secondary scoring there. I look at their third
No.
line. Heinen's gonna do it all himself on that line. Like and then second line, Krejci Backus. If they take a step back and DeBrusk is leading that line, and Patrice Bergeron's hurt, they're not the powerhouse they were a year ago.
No.
The back end, it still looks good. Chara is still a beast. He's slowed down offensively, but he's still a big dude that's hard to get around. Charlie McAvoy, Torrey Krug, Brandon Carlo, and then Kevin Miller, John Moore. I mean, on the back end, they're solid. They have a good three pairings of Ds. So for sure, I mean, I think they're still going to be a force in the East. I just don't see it.
Here, for me personally, I believe the standings are going to go Leafs Bruins. Do you have any? Is that different for you?
Wait, you see Leafs Bruins as being 1-2 in the conference?
No, Lightning Leafs Bruins.
Oh, Lightning Leafs Bruins
in their division. Do you see the Bruins falling out of that third spot, second/third spot, just like last year? I have them pinned to finish the exact same way, and it's not because they've gotten better. I think it's because the other teams they just in their division. There's no one that can really come close to what they have.
Right, and I mean, if I'm looking at it that way, I guess you could be correct. Like in their division, it's it's hard to tell. I mean, Sabres, Sens, Habs, Wings. Yeah.
I think the only team that can
Panthers, for sure.
It's the Panthers.
I think you know what, dude. I would say Panthers finish higher than the Bruins this year.
Okay.
And you know what? I see 5 teams in the Metro that are going to make the playoffs. I see Bruins as missing the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you think there's going to be 2 wild cards in the Metro?
I believe
none in the Atlantic.
Yeah. You know what? Either that or Florida. But I honestly think, Caps, Pens, Flyers, Hurricanes might be good this year. Blue Jackets, Devil. I mean, there are so many, apart from the 2 New York teams, I think that the Metro is going to be solid.
Yeah. I honestly don't see I actually don't see any wild card spots in the Atlantic. I just think teams that are in the Metro are they're better than Florida, who is the only team that I think can contend.
And I feel like they push each other a little bit too. When you're a team like Philly or Columbus and you see the Caps and the Pens, it's always close games. If we can win a couple games against them, then we're in good standing. And then I mean, I look at all 8 teams in this division in the Metro. And dude, if the Islanders find a way to win games this year, and the Rangers, if Lundqvist is good and he has a bounce back season, I see all 8 of these teams being like level playing field. With a slight difference between first and last, but not as big as any other division. So
yeah.
So just back to Boston. So key players, any players that you have in mind that are going to have a big standout year or maybe fall off the wagon a little bit?
Yeah. I have one for each.
Okay.
And you touched on him earlier. My fall off the wagon is Krejci.
Yeah.
Like you said, he felt threatened by Tavares, which, to be honest, the NHL, the sport is a business.
Yeah.
And if Buddy is gone because another player took his spot, well, I'm sorry, bro, but it's just the way she goes.
And he's sensitive about it. Like, the team didn't, the GM didn't call me to tell me they're going to pursue him. Like, dude, it's John Tavares. Like,
yeah,
just assume that your job's always on the line and just work your ass off and be quiet. Put your head down and there's something about that bothers me.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's going to put himself first before the team. Like, if any team were to get John Tavares, the entire roster is juiced.
Yeah.
They are there because it means more wins for them. He's that good of a player. He can literally take the team and just go, listen, I'm going to force our way to a win here.
Yeah.
And And for him to just be like, well, the fucking manager didn't, call me. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
That's what I
Come
see
on,
as
bro.
well. Yeah.
Standout good player is going to be actually Charlie McAvoy.
Yeah.
I think he had a great year last year. 2 years ago, he was starting the playoffs. And to be honest, I think that kind of rejuvenated their back end. Because Char's getting older. Krug is probably in his prime right now. But they got rid of I forgot the D's name. Buddy, who smashed fucking end, gave himself a concussion a few years ago.
Hold on, your mic cut out.
Mick something.
Adam McQuaid?
Adam McQuaid.
Yeah.
Fucking dummied himself into the boards a few years ago.
Yeah.
He's gone. They have a couple of younger guys, even younger than McAvoy and Krug, but I think McAvoy, for them to have some good success, other than Chara and Krug, McAvoy's got to step it up.
And you know where I think they messed up in the short term. I think their moves long term are beneficial to them because they added young guys and some guys in their farm system. They got rid of Tommy Wingles, Tim Schaller, Riley Nash and Rick Nash and Adam McQuaid, Nick Holden, Brian Giunta. They got rid of a bunch of veteran guys who could have filled out that bottom six. And that's, again, why I don't think that they have the 4 complete lines. If I need to pick a player to have a breakout year, I hate his face because he was great in the playoffs. I think DeBrusk is going to have a great year. I just think that he's going to be one of those guys to look out for. I will never cheer for him, and I will never take him in my fantasy pool. But I could tell you right now, I think he's going to have a good year. And then finally, let's just touch on goaltending a little bit. They pick up Yaroslav Halak as their backup goalie.
Get rid of Khudobin.
Yeah, Khudobin I thought was a solid goalie. They had a good backup in him, but I guess Yarrow brings that veteran angle. He didn't have didn't have that great of a win-loss record last year and a pretty high goals against average of 3.19. But Tuukka, man, it's going to depend on his start of the year. Last year he started the year, he was crap. He gave up the starting position to Khudobin, and he had to win it back. And I think this year Halak could maybe steal some games from him if he has the same type of start.
100%. I can tell you that in the last 2 years, I've traded for Halak in our fantasy pool at the Thanksgiving marker.
Yep.
And it almost seems like at that moment he wins it back, whether he's lost it or not. He sunk back, he gets some swag back, and like you said, for them to make the playoffs or have a chance at it, he's got to be good. And again, I'm surprised by Khudobin, the move from Khudobin. Played 31 games, had 16 wins, so gives you a 0.5 chance to win every game. Which as a backup goalie, I think that's pretty good.
For sure. I thought he was great, dude.
Yeah, he had 6 losses, and then he had 7 OT losses. So right there, he already had more OT losses than Rask. If he can cut that down, which I think is why another team maybe sought after to get him.
Where'd he go?
Did he go Dallas?
Dallas. He went to
Dallas. I think he went Dallas, which I also believe a team that does need a good backup goalie, someone they can rely on, because Bishop is a band.
He is. And who was it? I thought they had a good tandem in Dallas. Who was their other tandem?
It was it was Bishop and Lettinen.
Oh, Lettinen. So where's Lettinen now?
He's letting 10 in. Bad joke. Anyway,
he must still be there. Anyway, yeah. So that's I think we can call it on this one here. I think we keep exceeding our fucking time limits, but this is fun.
That's all right. This is fun. We're gonna cut it down. We're gonna say thank you to our sponsors now.
Enough with the sponsors.
I'd like to thank you, Hyundai.
We're not sponsored.
Volkswagen. We're definitely sponsored. Don't listen to Larry. Oh shit! I just gave out your real name. Who did I say? Hyundai, Volkswagen, and that's it.
That's it. That's all the car models you can think of.
They're ours. That's why. Nice.